Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling, and thanks a lot for checking out today's video. Much appreciated. Got a good video for you guys today, sort of a unusual video. It was actually brought to light by one of my subscribers. Sent me this, and he was talking about the correlation of dopamine release in people's brain and the use of forward-facing sonar and live scope. So thought it might make for an interesting conversation here. So real quick, guys, before we get started, I talked about this a little bit earlier. I said a lot of people have been talking about why the tackle room is bare here. We're getting ready to move. The Blockett household is. We're actually just moving a couple miles down the road. We're going to get outside of town a little bit and sort of get out of the noise and the loud noises and loud crotch rockets and cars here inside of Springfield. So I'll be setting up a new tackle room over there. So we'll just bear with me till we get that. Anyway, guys, here's the deal. I did a little research on this after the subscriber sent the study, and it's really interesting. It's like, sort of explains a lot of reason why people get addicted to live scope. Apparently, any time that you spend on screen time, I don't care what it is. It could be live scope, forward-facing sonar. It could be, video games, anything like that. It produces a dopamine release in your brain. And this particular dopamine is sort of like a pleasure reward center in your brain. It's almost like some type of a drug-induced, euphoric feeling a little bit. And the problem with that is after continued dopamine releases, it sort of like alters and damages the pathways of the neurons in your brain, and eventually they don't act normal. They don't act the same a little bit. And what happens is, over time, if the dopamine is released more and more and more often, for example, if you go out and you're automatically turning your live scope on and you get rewarded by catching fish, you get this dopamine release, and over time, as this dopamine is released by the screen time, it requires more and more and more. And that is when you get into addictive behaviors with that. Now, I think a lot of that is why, a lot of the really adamant live scopers that I know and have met before, it's become like it's become such a part of their being as far as they use it in all different aspects of their fishing, that it's a legitimate question to ask if the dopamine production is playing a part in people's use of live scope and forward-facing sonar. And even more that, it poses the question, as this technology advances and as it gets more complex and as it gets more high tech, then this particular dopamine release that the electronics have is just going to continue to get greater and greater. And eventually, it's like some of the stuff we have right now with live scope is going to be sort of like, you guys that know what asteroids are, the video game Asteroids back in 1980, that maybe is comparable to our current modern day live scope and forward-facing sonar, but there's a never-ending need for that, almost like a drug fix. And that's why a lot of those people out there maybe, I'm speculating here. I mean, it was brought up to me by a subscriber, but it makes a lot of sense why so many people out there are always, looking forward to the next greatest thing with electronic technology, which sort of goes beyond, the fact of just catching fish out there. I mean, catching fish for the sake of catching fish is different from catching fish that you see on a screen where you're rewarded immediately from that screen connection to your brain, which that's generally what happens, because most of the time when you're live scoping, I mean, you're completely focused on that live scope. You're not even watching really what your bait's doing. You're just seeing that screen, just the same as, a 6-year-old kid, watches Roblox or Minecraft, on their iPad. It's the same deal. It's that dopamine release. So anyway, I just thought it was an interesting, that's one angle I had never thought about it before. I think it makes for an interesting conversation. I'm not a scientific expert on it. If anyone out there has any expertise in this field, please feel free to chip in on this. I'd be glad to hear it. And let me know what you guys think. Is this a thing, or is it not a thing? But anyway, I thought it was interesting enough to put out a video on it. So anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll talk later. See you.